Tonight, we travel back to a time of marble temples, crowded forums, and surprisingly few safety regulations. You've just woken up in ancient Rome, not as an emperor or a noble, of course, but as an average nobody trying to get through the day without catching a disease or falling off a poorly constructed balcony. If you've ever romanticized the ancient world, prepare to have that fantasy gently, lovingly dismantled. I'm the candlelight historian, and this is history as it was lived, unforgiving, unfiltered, and brutally real. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really enjoy these quiet dives into the uncomfortable past. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. I always love seeing the little constellation of night owls glowing across the globe. Now, settle in, take a slow breath, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're not entirely sure what woke you. It might have been the shouting outside, or the creaking of wooden beams that don't sound particularly trustworthy. Either way, you're horizontal, and that's the best part of your day so far. You're lying on what might generously be called a bed, a lumpy sack stuffed with straw, wrapped in itchy wool, and held together by hope and one rusty nail. The straw jabs you in places straw has no business being, and something is definitely moving inside it. You choose not to investigate. The ceiling above you is stained black from years of oil lamp smoke. There's a jagged hole in one corner where sunlight streams in and rain occasionally drips. Helpful if you're into indoor agriculture or casual dampness. Dust hangs in the air like it's waiting for applause. You blink and sit up, and the movement sends a small cloud of it wafting into your eyes and nostrils. You're awake now, thoroughly. The room is small, maybe the size of a modern bathroom, and you're sharing it with at least one other snoring body on the floor, possibly two. It's hard to tell what's human and what's laundry at this hour. The walls are thin, made of wood and plaster, and they do absolutely nothing to keep the sounds of Rome out. You hear vendors shouting prices in the street below, a baby crying somewhere to your left, and the unmistakable echo of someone relieving themselves in a clay pot in the apartment above. The joys of apartment living, first century style. This building is called an insula, a multi-story death trap designed to house as many people as possible, while using as little stone as humanly feasible. Wealthy Romans live on the ground floor. Lucky them. You, naturally, are near the top. Farthest from the water supply, closest to a sky that frequently leaks, and most at risk if this place decides to catch fire, which it often does. You stretch, cautiously, because everything aches. The mattress did you no favors, and the air is cold and damp. Your tunic is crumpled on the floor nearby. You grab it, shake it once, and half a beetle drops out. You pretend that's normal. You slip it on, realizing it smells faintly of olive oil, sweat, and the communal bathhouse, a blend that probably has its own Latin name by now. The floor beneath you is rough, and every step feels like a warning from the gods. You're barefoot, and the wood is splintery in some places and suspiciously sticky in others. One board flexes when you step on it, and you say a quiet prayer that today is not the day it gives way. There's no kitchen. That's not a Roman thing. Instead, you've got a small charcoal brazier, currently unlit, and a few cracked pots stacked on a wooden shelf. Next to them is a crust of bread you may have forgotten existed. It looks back at you like it holds a grudge. You decide not to eat it, not yet. Outside your tiny window, the sun is just rising over Rome. You hear the clatter of wooden wheels on stone, the cries of fishmongers setting up their stalls, the whistle of a baker already selling his first batch. The smell of smoke, wet leather, and something vaguely fishy wafts up and curls into your nostrils. You're already nostalgic for clean air and silence. You look around one more time, hoping this has all been a dream. But no, this is your reality now. A brittle room stacked like a playing card above dozens of others, full of strangers you've never properly met, all bound together by shared walls and shared misery. And downstairs, the entire city waits for you, loud, alive, and absolutely unbothered by your complete lack of preparedness. Outside your door, there's a rickety staircase, more ladder than stair, that leads down past your neighbors' homes. It groans under your weight and wobbles dangerously with every step. No handrails, no building code, just hope, nails, and probably some curses scrawled in charcoal. And yet, despite everything, the city pulls at you. Rome is waking up. You can hear it, the rustle of togas, the bark of market dogs, the booming voice of someone arguing about debt or destiny. The city is alive, loud, messy, unpredictable. And you, in your wrinkled tunic and your slightly haunted eyes, are about to step into it. Your stomach growls, not the casual, polite murmur of modern hunger. This is the primal howl of a person who has skipped too many meals and just woke up in a time with no coffee. You glance toward your shelf again. The bread looks even more resentful than before. Still, you're in ancient Rome now, and breakfast surely awaits just beyond your door, right? Not quite. The concept of breakfast here is flexible. Romans, especially the average ones like you, don't really believe in a hearty morning feast. They think eating early in the day is a little uncivilized, something barbarians might do, which is unfortunate for you because you're starving. Still, you descend the death trap staircase, skip over someone's laundry, and make it onto the street in one piece. The air hits your face, dry, smoky, and buzzing with the strange energy of early Roman bustle. It's louder than you expect for dawn. Already, vendors are shouting, carts are rattling, and dogs are arguing with pigeons over a discarded fig. You follow the crowd down the alley, hoping to sniff out something edible. You pass by a stall where a man is selling what he calls ponies, a kind of flatbread that looks like it's been through war. It's yesterday's bread, reheated. It cracks like roof tile when you bite into it, and tastes mostly like ash and disappointment. Still, it's something. You gnaw on it and try not to think about the fact that this might be the highlight of your culinary day. If you're wealthy, which you're not, you might be having honey cakes, olives, or fresh fruit served in a garden by a servant named Cassius, who whispers the weather into your ear like it's poetry. But you're working with dry bread, and maybe, if fortune smiles upon you, a sip of watered-down wine left over from the night before. It tastes like vinegar and regret, but hey, at least it's technically fermented. You consider water. It's free, which is great. It's also piped in through lead pipes, which is less great. Rome's famous aqueducts bring water into fountains and cisterns around the city, but the water quality varies wildly. Some of it's crystal clear. Some of it smells like something died upstream and was never properly mourned. You hesitate, take a small sip, and immediately regret it. It tastes like warm stone and distant illness. Still chewing your dusty bread, you keep walking. The city's waking up in full now, and with every turn you discover new smells, some of them promising, most of them suspicious. A man nearby is roasting chickpeas over a small brazier. They smell amazing, but you don't have any asses, small bronze coins, to spare. He offers one for free, sees your face, and then takes it back. You weren't the first hungry time traveler to try that trick today, apparently. Eventually, your wandering brings you to the edge of a small market square, where a group of workers are gathered. Bricklayers, laborers, messengers. None of them are eating. Instead, they're squatting on stones, arguing about the weather and politics like they've already had a full day. One of them offers you a date, the fruit, not the romantic kind, and you accept gratefully. It's soft and sticky and finally tastes like something that once saw sunlight. A minor miracle. You pause to take it all in. The buildings lean overhead, tall and close. Painted signs on plaster walls advertise fish sauce, tunics, and haircuts. Laundry flaps from balconies. Someone above you shouts, "Cave," which is Latin for watch out. A moment later, a small bucket of grey water splashes dangerously close to your feet. You shuffle away. Breakfast in ancient Rome is apparently interactive. With your stomach half full and your dignity mostly intact, you think again about what breakfast used to mean. Cereal, toast, pancakes if you were lucky. Here, morning meals are more of a suggestion. You're expected to power through until midday, which is when the real eating happens. But you're already tired, and hungry again, and slightly nauseated from the water. You'd kill for a cup of coffee, or even just a room temperature glass of oat milk. Instead, you get a stray goat sniffing your tunic and someone next to you loudly haggling over turnips. At this point, the sun has lifted itself above the rooftops, and the heat begins to rise with it. There's no escaping it, no shady cafes, no iced lattes, no air conditioning. Just you, your crunchy bread, and the knowledge that you've got 12 more hours of this city before you're allowed to collapse again. You take a breath. Rome is not cruel, exactly. But it is indifferent. It's not trying to make your life difficult. It simply doesn't care that you're not built for this. It's up to you to adapt. So you finish your bite, wipe your hands on your tunic, and keep moving. Because in ancient Rome, there's no such thing as brunch. And the city doesn't wait for anyone. The moment you step back onto the main road, you're hit by a wall of noise. Not the honking cars and sirens you're used to, but something far more chaotic. It's the sound of thousands of feet on stone, donkey hooves clattering, wooden cartwheels screeching, and everyone shouting at once. There's no sidewalk, no crosswalk, and no such thing as personal space. The street is a free-for-all. You hug the edge of the buildings as a delivery cart barrels past, its driver barely steering and entirely barefoot. A loose cabbage rolls off the back and is instantly claimed by a pack of mangy dogs, who proceed to fight over it like it's the last sausage in the empire. You step around them. You're learning. The air smells like someone spilled wine, smoked something illegal, and then tried to mop it up with fish sauce, mixed with sweat, and a hint of burning hair. Rome's scent is complicated. The street itself is made of uneven basalt stones, polished smooth by centuries of sandals, but still lumpy enough to snap your ankle if you misstep. Every few feet, there's a stepping stone in the middle of the road, not decorative, but functional. Streets here double as sewers, and when it rains, they flood. So these stones are your lifeline across the open stream of, let's call it, mystery liquid, running past you now. You don't know what's in it. You don't want to know. You hop over it like a seasoned local and pretend you're not sweating already. As you walk, a man carrying a giant amphora of wine brushes past you, muttering to himself in Latin. He doesn't say sorry. Romans don't really do apologies, they do volume. Everyone around you seems to be yelling. Vendors shout their prices. Women argue over olive oil quality. A boy runs past with a chicken under one arm, screaming about his brother stealing his sandals. It's not even mid-morning. You try to breathe through your mouth. It helps, a little. On the left, you pass a leatherworker's shop. The scent of tanned hide and wood smoke is actually sort of pleasant, until you notice the pile of fly-covered scraps in the corner. On the right, there's a bakery, and for a brief, golden moment, everything smells like heaven. Fresh bread, warm herbs, charred crust. You're about to step inside when a wealthy woman walks out with her slave carrying the loaf. She looks you up and down like you're something the sewer forgot to carry off, and you suddenly remember you can't afford any of this. You keep walking. You pass a temple, its columns tall and clean compared to the grime around it. A priest in spotless robes stands at the top of the stairs, chanting something about Mars and victory. A woman lights a candle and leaves a coin. You consider doing the same, but realize you still only have the same 2 coins from earlier, and they might be counterfeit. A man bumps into you and keeps going. You check your pouch. 1 coin left. Welcome to Roman street life. Thieves are quick, and there's no police force like you know it. Justice here is more of a hobby than a guarantee. If someone catches a thief, there's usually shouting, maybe a punch or 2, and then a public spectacle that may or may not involve a whip. You decide not to report it. You'd probably be charged for wasting a magistrate's time. You finally duck into a narrow side alley to catch your breath. The sound dulls slightly, muffled by high walls and laundry fluttering above. You can hear water dripping somewhere, and you see a cat stretched out in the shade like it owns the entire empire. For a moment, it's quiet. Then someone upstairs throws a chamber pot out the window. You jump backward just in time as the contents splatter on the cobblestones where you were standing. The smell confirms it wasn't water. You lock eyes with the cat. It blinks slowly, unimpressed. This city is trying to kill you. Not violently, but passively, like a roommate who leaves things on the stairs and just waits. Every corner holds a new hazard. Broken roof tiles fall without warning. Meat hangs from hooks in full sun. And people, everywhere, are constantly moving, shouting, carrying, shoving. You are a soft, confused time traveler in a place that considers survival a daily sport. Still, it's not all bad. There's music somewhere, a street performer playing a pipe. Children giggle as they chase each other with sticks. Someone nearby is laughing, and despite everything, it's genuine. Rome is alive in a way that's hard to describe. It's messy and beautiful and terrifying. It doesn't care about you, but it also doesn't stop moving for anyone. And that's something you step back out onto the street and try to blend in. You walk with purpose now, even if you don't know where you're going. Because in Rome, looking lost is an invitation for thieves, conmen, and possibly goats. So you, fake confidence. You straighten your tunic, lift your chin, and march forward like someone who belongs here, even if every part of you is screaming otherwise. You're sweating before the baths even come into view. The sun has climbed high and turned the city into a slow-cooking oven. Heat radiates off the stone streets. Your tunic clings to your back like a desperate X. The smell of Rome is now fully activated. Warmed up fish sauce, damp wool, and something distinctly agricultural baking in the gutters. It's time to bathe, or at least try. You follow a small stream of equally sticky Romans toward the thermae, the public baths. Not a luxury, a necessity. These are the social hubs of the city. Cleanliness is just one reason to go. People also come to gossip, show off, strike deals, spy, flirt, argue, and occasionally wash their feet. The building looms ahead, massive, grand, and surprisingly beautiful. Tall columns, painted plaster, and wide marble steps lead into the complex. It smells better than most places in the city. Not quite fresh, but less offensive. Inside, the light changes. You're in a dim, echoing atrium now, and the noise from the street fades into a humid hum of voices and dripping water. A slave eyes you as you walk in, possibly judging your odor. You hand over your sandals and tunic, which are promptly tossed into a basket. You try not to think about how many other tunics are in there, or how often that basket gets cleaned. You're now very naked, and extremely aware of it. You step into the appetitorium, the changing room, though you're already changed into a vulnerable version of yourself. Around you, dozens of other bathers are chatting, stretching, or applying oil. Some are in shockingly good shape. Others are not. No one seems to care. Body image isn't really a Roman concept. Your body is just another object in the room. A man nearby rubs olive oil onto his arms, chest, and thighs. It glistens in the lantern light. This is part of the process. Romans clean themselves not with soap, but with oil. Once coated, you're supposed to scrape it all off using a curved metal tool called a strigil. It removes sweat, dirt, dead skin, and whatever hopes you had of feeling elegant. Someone hands you a bit of oil. You mimic the others, coating your skin until you shine like a particularly anxious roast chicken. Then you're motioned toward the first room, the tepidarium. It's warm. Not hot, not cold, just warm. Steam clings to every surface. Marble benches line the walls. You sit, cautiously, your skin sticking to the stone. The air is thick and smells faintly of lavender and sweat. People around you are deep in conversation. Two older men argue about a Senate decision. A group of younger men are laughing about a recent race at the Circus Maximus. No one whispers. Eventually, you're nudged toward the caldarium, the hot room. This place is not messing around. The heat hits you like a heavy cloak. Your lungs tighten, your skin tingles. The floor is warm, almost too warm, heated from below by a clever Roman system called a hypotheticals, hot air traveling under the floors and through the walls. You sit again, or rather, you try. The bench is hot enough to grill something. You adjust. Everyone looks mildly miserable, but no one leaves. This is apparently part of the fun. Your oil begins to melt off your body. You watch it bead and run like your will to live. At some point, a man walks past carrying a ladle and dumps a scoop of hot water over a pile of rocks. Steam explodes into the air. Everyone exhales like they've just been reborn. You're pretty sure your eyebrows are gone. Finally, you're herded into the cold plunge. You think you're ready. You are not. The water is freezing. It seizes your chest and sends your soul briefly up into your skull. You inhale sharply, possibly in Latin. Around you, people seem to enjoy this. One man lets out a moan of satisfaction. You are shivering, questioning every choice that led you here. But oddly, after a few moments, you start to feel awake, clean, slightly less like a sewer rat in human form. And maybe that's the point. You climb out, dripping, and are handed a rough linen cloth. You pat yourself dry, which takes approximately forever. You are then reunited with your slightly damp tunic and your slightly suspicious sandals. Everything smells the same, but you feel different. You step back into the sun, blinking. For a moment, the heat feels good. Your skin glows. Your head is clear. You're still in ancient Rome, still completely out of place, but at least now you're a slightly cleaner version of confused. And now that you've survived public bathing, you're ready to face the next ancient challenge. Getting dressed, you've bathed, you're clean, you feel like a new person until you put your tunic back on. Instantly, you're reminded that Roman fashion was not designed for comfort, or dignity, or people who sweat. The tunic clings to you in all the wrong places. It's scratchy, smells faintly of oil and charcoal, and the neckline doesn't quite sit right no matter how much you adjust it. The fabric is thick and stiff, and the air trapped underneath it creates a kind of portable steam room around your ribs. It's like wearing a curtain that resents you. Still, this is the Roman way. Everyone wears tunics, slaves, merchants, senators. The difference is in the fabric, the color, the cut, and how many other people you have dressing you. You, of course, have none. You are your own servant, and your look reflects that. Now you face your greatest enemy so far, the toga. You don't need to wear one, technically. You're not on your way to court or an official ceremony, but curiosity gets the better of you. You see a group of men wrapping themselves in the iconic Roman garment, and you figure, how hard can it be? Very hard, it turns out. A proper toga is about 6 meters of wool. It's not shaped, not stitched, not helpful in any way. It's basically a blanket that someone once wore to the Senate, and now the entire empire is pretending it's a good idea. You watch as one man expertly folds, drapes, tucks, and flings the fabric into a swirling, statuesque masterpiece. He looks like marble brought to life. You try the same and end up looking like you're being eaten by your laundry. The first mistake is starting without help. Togas are not a solo sport. You wrap the fabric around your waist, then try to loop it under your arm. It slips. You try again, now over your shoulder. It unravels. You get it to stay in place for 3 glorious seconds, then sneeze, and the entire thing collapses around your ankles like a wool avalanche. Nearby, a child watching you whispers something to his mother. She laughs. You pretend not to notice. Eventually, you give up on the toga. Your dignity is not strong enough to survive another round. You stick with your tunic, slightly crooked, slightly damp, and move on. You're blending in again, mostly. As you walk through the forum, you notice the subtle hierarchies in every outfit. Wealthy citizens glide by in clean, pure white togas with deep purple stripes, a signal of rank. Others wear dyed tunics in expensive blues or reds. You, meanwhile, are proudly rocking the washed last week in a puddle aesthetic. Women's clothing is no easier. The stola is a long, draped garment layered over a tunic, cinched with cords and accessorized with brooches and veils. It looks elegant when worn correctly. It also looks like it takes 45 minutes and 3 servants to put on. Most women here have slaves to handle their wardrobes. You, if you're a woman today, are doing this alone, and it's not going well. The pleats are wrong. The veil keeps sliding, and you stepped on the hem 5 times before breakfast. Roman shoes are another ordeal. Sandals, sure, but not the kind with memory foam or arch support. These are rawhide strips laced around your feet like you wronged the shoemaker in a past life. Every step rubs, pinches, or threatens to come undone. The cobblestones don't help. By now, you've got blisters in places you didn't know could blister. Still, there's a strange satisfaction in it all. Your reflection in a shop window. Well, a polished bronze mirror hanging outside a perfume stall shows someone who looks just a little more Roman than they did this morning. The tunic may be crooked, and the sandals may be unraveling, but you're here. You're walking the streets of ancient Rome, and, despite all odds, you haven't burst into tears or been trampled by a mule. Yet, someone passes you, murmuring about a political meeting at the forum. Another gestures toward the theater. A pair of teenage boys run past, shouting about a chariot race at the circus. Everyone's going somewhere. Everyone looks like they belong. And you, in your sagging tunic and stubborn sandals, are doing your best to pretend. You tug the fabric into place one more time, straighten your back, and keep moving. Because in Rome, appearance is everything. Even if you're one loose knot away from public embarrassment, you follow the crowd until the buildings open up, and suddenly you're standing at the edge of the Roman Forum, the beating, bickering heart of the empire. It's loud, it's messy, it smells like crushed olives, fresh bread, sweat, and the kind of ambition that leaves bloodstains on marble. The Forum isn't just a place, it's a performance. Politicians, merchants, philosophers, gossips, and pickpockets all swirl together in one giant, chaotic play, and you've wandered onto the stage without a script. The ground beneath you is uneven stone, worn smooth in places, cracked in others. There's no map, no signs, and certainly no quiet corners. Everything here is grand. Towering columns reach up into the blue. Statues line the walkways, stern-faced generals, gods, and forgotten officials, all staring down at you like they know you don't belong. You pass the rostra, the speaker's platform, where a man is shouting about grain prices. His voice is hoarse but passionate. A small crowd has gathered. Some listen, others shout back. One man is asleep. Another is eating grapes with the confidence of someone who thinks yelling is beneath him. To your left, a pair of men argue over a land dispute, slapping a scroll back and forth like it personally insulted them. Nearby, a woman sells garlands of flowers while her child chases pigeons. Two teenage boys sit on the steps of the basilica, gambling with carved dice. One of them is cheating, badly. You wander further in and spot a small temple tucked between two larger buildings. People come and go, pausing to toss coins, mumble prayers, or nod at the statues. You consider offering something, but remember your last coin was stolen, a true Roman experience. A man bumps into you. Again, you instinctively check your pouch, empty. Again, you sigh. You've learned to expect it now. The Forum is a marketplace of ideas and of stolen goods. Some people come here to change the future of Rome. Others just come to take your money. You try to blend in, walking with the same rushed indifference everyone else seems to have mastered. But it's not easy. People here move fast. They talk faster. Everyone seems to know where they're going, and none of them want to help you get there. A man in a toga that probably cost more than your apartment brushes past, deep in conversation with another equally overdressed senator. You catch a few words, something about a new law, a corrupt magistrate, maybe an orgy. It's hard to tell. Latin is slippery, especially when everyone speaks it like they're late for something. At the far end of the Forum, you spot a group of clients huddled around the Patronus, their wealthy sponsor. They're offering flattery, loyalty, and maybe some light begging in exchange for favors. This is how power works in Rome, not just through politics, but through relationships. Everyone's part of a ladder. You're just somewhere near the dirt. You stand at the edge of it all, overwhelmed. The noise, the dust, the posturing. It's like being dropped into a courtroom, a stock exchange, and a very aggressive family reunion all at once. And still, somehow, it works. Barely. Suddenly, a trumpet sounds from somewhere high above, and the crowd pauses. A procession is passing through, not a military one, just a group of magistrates heading toward the Senate. Everyone steps aside, but only just. The officials glide past in robes so white they practically glow. They don't look at anyone. They don't have to. You do your best to avoid eye contact and keep walking. Eventually, you find a quieter corner behind a column. You lean against it, wiping sweat from your face. Your feet ache, your back's sore, and you're pretty sure the last 5 minutes gave you 3 new calluses and a mild distrust of public speaking. Still, there's something about the forum. Something ancient and alive. Beneath the chaos, the scams, and the elbow-to-rib contact, you can feel the pulse of the empire here. Laws are made. Deals are struck. Rumors are born and spread like wildfire. This place runs Rome, and right now, it's running you over. You step back into the fray, dodging a boy with a basket of figs and a goat tied to a broken pillar. The goat gives you a look. It might be judging your posture. You've survived the forum. Mostly, you've learned a few things. Keep moving, keep quiet, keep a hand on your coin pouch, and never, under any circumstance, stop in front of someone in a hurry. By now, your throat is dry, your lips are cracked, and your mouth feels like it's been lined with sand and then insulted. You need water. Fortunately, Rome is famous for its aqueducts. Marvels of engineering that carry fresh water into the city from distant springs. There are public fountains everywhere, gurgling softly with cool, clear streams pouring from lion heads, marble mouths, or cracked stone basins. They look clean, they sound clean. They are not clean. You approach one near the forum. A young woman is filling a jug, while her toddler dips a hand in the water and then sneezes directly into it. An old man takes a swig and promptly hawks something unpleasant into the basin. A dog wanders up and starts drinking with the enthusiasm of someone who just licked an amphora. Still, your thirst wins. You lean down, cup your hands, and scoop up a mouthful, and instantly regret it. It tastes like lukewarm minerals and distant plumbing decisions. There's a faint metallic temps that would be the lead. Romans use lead pipes for everything. They call it plumbum. It's soft, easy to shape, and, as far as they know, completely harmless. That little fact about lead poisoning won't be discovered for centuries, which is deeply unfortunate for you right now. You swallow, and immediately feel like something in your digestive system is questioning its life choices. You consider buying water from a street vendor, but then you remember that vendors in Rome include a wide range of hygiene standards. From washed once this month, to has never seen a sponge. Some water sellers even mix in vinegar or herbs to mask the taste, which sounds refreshing until you realize it's less a recipe and more of a cover-up. If you're a Roman elite, you'd have your own private cistern, carefully filtered and guarded. If you're a normal citizen, which you are, you're drinking what everyone else drinks. Community water, touched by many hands, blessed by no gods. You walk away from the fountain with a grimace and a vague sense of doom brewing in your lower abdomen. As you head down the street, you pass more fountains, more children splashing, more laundry being rinsed, and even one man washing his armpits. The aqueducts are impressive, sure. They deliver over 200 million gallons of water a day, but no one ever promised quality control. In a city packed with people, animals, and diseases no one can pronounce yet, water safety is more of a gamble than a guarantee. You pause near a shaded wall to rest. A vendor offers you a cup of posca, a diluted vinegar drink popular among soldiers and laborers. It's supposed to be good for you. You take a sip. It tastes like disappointment soaked in old wine. But oddly, it's not terrible. Sour, hydrating. Less suspicious than the fountain, at least. You nod your thanks and hand back the cup. Somewhere nearby, a man is arguing about aqueduct maintenance, claiming the water was better 10 years ago. Another scoffs and says it's the gods who are angry. Someone mentions rats. no one offers a solution. You wonder how people survive here. The truth is, they don't, not for long. The average life expectancy in Rome hovers around 30. Waterborne illness is a major contributor. Dysentery, parasites, strange rashes, you name it. Someone's probably dying from it right now, in a tenement, just like yours. You keep walking. You pass a public latrine, a large open room with stone benches and a long water channel beneath them. Dozens of people sit side by side, chatting, reading, sometimes sharing a sponjana stick. That same channel connects back to the aqueduct system, the same system that feeds the fountains. You stare at the water trickling past, suddenly connecting a few very unpleasant dots. You take a deep breath. It smells like wet stone, old oil, and something you wish you hadn't identified. You look at the sky. Bright blue, cloudless, mocking. You think about bottled water, plastic cups, ice cubes, all of them centuries away. Here, your choices are simple. Drink the water or don't. One keeps you thirsty, the other keeps you guessing. Still, you're not dead yet. You've had worse. You hope, maybe. You wipe your face with your sleeve, which is now slightly less clean than before. And then, as if on cue, your stomach gurgles, loudly. It's not the polite pre-lunch kind of gurgle. It's the kind of sound that says, you made a terrible decision 5 minutes ago, and we're all going to pay for it. You sigh. Welcome to Rome. The sun is no longer just shining, it's punishing. It hangs high and merciless, baking the rooftops, the stones, and every unfortunate person walking below. You are one of those unfortunate people. There's no shade. None. Roman city planners did many things well, but designing for comfort in a heat wave wasn't one of them. Your tunic, once only damp from the baths, is now soaked through. It clings to you like it resents your life choices. The streets, paved in thick dark stone, radiate heat back up at you with the enthusiasm of an open oven. It's like walking across a giant pizza stone, except you're the topping. You press your hand to a nearby wall. It's warm enough to fry an egg, if eggs weren't such a luxury. Even the air feels heavy, still, stagnant, full of dust and the occasional drifting odor of something dead and uncollected. You don't ask questions anymore. That's rule 1 in Rome. Don't ask. Your feet hurt. Your head pounds. The water you drank earlier is not helping. If anything, your stomach now feels like it's working through a minor betrayal. You glance around for a tree. Anything green, nothing. Roman urban design does not believe in trees. You see pots of herbs on windowsills, maybe one shriveled fig tree dying valiantly in a courtyard. But the streets are stone, the walls are stone, and the sun has turned the whole city into one enormous bread oven. You're starting to understand why Roman citizens take naps in the middle of the day. You pass a group of people huddled under a cloth awning outside a wine shop. They've claimed the only bit of shade on the street, and they're not sharing. One man gives you a look that says, "Try me," without speaking a word. You decide to keep walking. Even the dogs look miserable. One lies flat against a wall, tongue lolling, eyes half closed. You envy that dog. The marketplace ahead is bustling, but quieter than it was this morning. People move slower now, conserving energy like lizards in the desert. Some merchants have thrown up crude canopies to protect their goods, not their customers. You pass a stall selling dates, figs, and dried apricots, all glistening in the heat. The vendor's eyes follow you, but he doesn't call out. Everyone is too hot to care. You spot a small fountain trickling into a stone basin. A few people have gathered around, not to drink, they've all learned, but to soak cloths and pat their necks. You do the same. The water is warm, but it helps. For a moment, the cloth cools your skin. Then it steams. A woman next to you mutters something in Latin. You don't catch it, but from her tone, it's either a curse or a prayer, possibly both. You walk on, slowly. Everything hurts. You pass a bakery, and the smell nearly knocks you over. Not because it's bad, because it's overwhelming. Roasting barley, baking bread, olive oil, all good things, in theory. But in this heat, the air is so thick with scent it feels edible. The baker stands outside in nothing but a loincloth, fanning himself with a wooden tray. You nod at each other in mutual suffering. Somewhere nearby, a blacksmith is hammering away. Why anyone is working metal right now is beyond comprehension. The sound rings out like thunder. Sparks fly. A boy pumps the bellows lazily, sweat pouring down his arms. You marvel at their stamina, and then remember that in this world there is no indoors as you know it, nowhere cool to hide. There is work, and there is heat, and there is no air conditioning. A woman passes you holding a parasol. It's made of fabric and bone, a delicate little shield from the sun. She's dressed in light linen and walks with the elegance of someone who has never tripped over her own sandals. She's also clearly rich. You consider asking where she got the parasol. Then you remember she would probably have you arrested just for speaking to her. You find a shaded doorway at last and press yourself into it like it's salvation. It's only a small reprieve. The shade is patchy, the stone is still warm, but it's better than nothing. Your heartbeat begins to slow. A breeze drifts past. Not much of one, but enough to notice. You close your eyes. You breathe. And then a cart rolls past, its wheel hitting a pothole, splashing something brown and mysterious across the edge of your sandals. You open your eyes, of course. You step back onto the street and keep moving. Because this is ancient Rome, and the sun isn't going anywhere. It starts with a stubbed toe. A clean, sharp little pain as your foot catches the edge of a loose paving stone. You stumble, curse under your breath, something entirely modern that no Roman would recognize, and glance down. Your toe is already swelling, possibly bruised, possibly broken. Either way, it hurts. You think about sitting down, maybe resting, but you're in the middle of the street, and someone's already yelling at you to move. You limp to the side and press yourself against a warm wall. The pain throbs in steady waves. It's probably nothing, but in a world without ibuprofen, even nothing can ruin your week. Still, you figure it's worth finding help. You ask a passerby, a grizzled man with a basket of figs and a face that's seen things, if there's a doctor nearby. He points vaguely down the street and mutters something about medicus and via tecta. You thank him, sort of, and follow the direction he waved toward. Limping, the doctor's place is not what you expected. There's no sign, just a faded painting of a snake wrapped around a stick above a doorway, a symbol you half recognize. Inside, it smells like herbs, old wood, and a faint undercurrent of something burnt, not entirely unpleasant, not entirely comforting. The medicus himself is bent over a scroll when you arrive. He looks up slowly, youngish, sharp eyes, ink stains on his fingers. You explain, or try to. Your Latin is awful, and your gestures are dramatic. He watches you with the tired amusement of someone who's seen far worse. Eventually, he points to a stool. You sit. He examines your foot, prods your toe a little too enthusiastically, then nods. Says something about bruising, maybe a fracture, possibly just swelling. He reaches for a tray of tools. That's when you start to worry. The tray contains instruments that look like they came from a dungeon. There's a hooked needle, a curved blade, a pair of iron tongs, a long bronze probe. You look at them, then at him, then at your toe. You try to explain, again, through increasingly panicked mime, that you just need something to stop the pain. He seems to get it. He grunts, goes to the corner, and returns with a small bowl of crushed herbs and a lump of what might be tree sap. He mashes it together, muttering, then smears the paste onto your toe. It smells like mint and vinegar. It might actually be working. He wraps it in linen and ties it with a strip of papyrus. You're not sure if that part is medical or decorative. Either way, you nod, thank him, and start to stand. Then he hands you a bill. You stare at it. Not because it's expensive, though it is, but because it's written in neat, perfect Latin. You nod again, give him the only coin you have left, again, and shuffle out, slightly better and significantly poorer. Outside, you think about how fragile the body is here. One bad step, one infection, one unlucky splinter, and there's no safety net. No hospital, no antibiotics, no sterile gloves. Just a man with a tray of scary tools and some herbs he foraged himself. You pass another medicus a few blocks later. His storefront is flashier, a painted sign showing a healed man raising his arms in victory. Inside, it's full of jars and scrolls. A woman sits waiting, her arm in a sling made from what looks like a tablecloth. You nod to her in solidarity. Then you see something worse. A barber surgeon. He's outside, in the open, standing over a man whose foot is propped on a stool. The surgeon is holding a knife. There's blood. The patient is biting down on a leather strap and making sounds no one should ever make in public. A small crowd has gathered to watch. Some are eating. You turn away. Your toe throbs, but suddenly you feel lucky. Roman medicine is strange. It's part science, part superstition, and part wild guessing. Some doctors genuinely try. Others rely on dreams, moon phases, or advice from dead philosophers. Remedies include cabbage, crushed beetles, boiled urine, and occasionally just leaving the city for better air. And there's always the gods. People pray to Asclepius, the god of healing. They leave offerings at his temples, small statues of injured limbs carved in clay. You pass one of these temples now, quiet, shaded, filled with incense. It smells better than any other place you've been all day. You consider going in, just in case. You don't. You limp onward, hoping that between the minty paste, the linen wrap, and sheer stubbornness, your toe will eventually recover. But deep down, you know the truth. In ancient Rome, getting hurt is risky. Getting better is optional. As evening approaches, the city softens, just a little. The sun dips lower, casting long golden streaks across cracked stone walls and flickering off the tips of marble statues. Shadows stretch across the ground like lazy cats. You're tired, sore, vaguely injured, and increasingly hungry. Luckily, you've been invited to dinner, sort of. More accurately, a man you barely spoke to at the baths mentioned a gathering at his friend's place. And you smiled too politely, and now you've found yourself shuffling up the uneven steps of a domus, one of the private homes of Rome's upper crust. It's a bit intimidating. The doorway is tall, flanked by painted columns. Inside, the air smells of herbs and charcoal and something vaguely sweet. You're greeted by a slave who says nothing but gestures for you to enter. You follow a mosaic-tiled corridor into a room filled with flickering oil lamps and reclining guests. Yes, reclining. Romans don't sit at dinner, they lounge. Three-sided couches line the edges of the dining room, and everyone is sprawled on their left sides like they've just fainted beautifully into history. You awkwardly lower yourself into position. It's harder than it looks. Your hip starts cramping after about 12 seconds, and your elbow has nowhere to go. A slave brings you a damp cloth. You wipe your hands. Then another offers a small glass of wine mixed with water. Stronger than breakfast wine, but still weaker than what you need right now. The host, a portly man with oiled hair and a loud laugh, claps his hands. First course. It begins modestly. Olives, cheese, bits of cucumber, bread that's only slightly burnt. You're starving, and you try not to devour everything too quickly. Everyone else is nibbling like it's a casual hobby. You chew slowly, pretend to savor. Then comes the gusttatio, the appetizer course. This is where things get strange. Dishes arrive on bronze trays. Boiled eggs sprinkled with garum, the infamous fermented fish sauce, honey-glazed dormice stuffed with pine nuts, and pickled vegetables in vinegar so sharp your eyes water. You're handed a skewer with what looks like a lizard tail on it. You stare, then you eat it. It tastes like salt, fear, and maybe chicken. There is much laughter, mostly from the host. He dominates every conversation, telling stories that involve embarrassing a senator or outsmarting a goal. No one contradicts him. You chuckle quietly. It feels safer. Next is the prima mensa, the main course. This is the moment where Roman cuisine throws subtlety out the window. Roast peacock, spiced sausages, a stew made from lentils, snails, and what may or may not be sheep brain. Everything is heavily seasoned, not to enhance the flavor, but to cover whatever the flavor used to be. Refrigeration is not a thing. You chew cautiously. A slave refills your cup. The wine is stronger now. You start to relax. Maybe it's the food. Maybe it's the alcohol. Maybe it's the slow realization that there's no polite way to say, please, no more peacock tongue. Dessert follows. Secunda, mensa. Sweet dates stuffed with nuts. Honey cakes shaped like fish. A bizarre little gelatin made from boiled animal bones and fruit. You eat it all because it's sugary and familiar and doesn't smell like old meat. The conversation drifts into politics, or poetry, or gladiators. You lose track. Everyone's reclining, laughing, half drunk, and very pleased with themselves. You feel like you've wandered into a living fresco, one with better lighting and worse digestion. Someone recites a poem in Latin. Everyone claps. You clap too, late and unsure. Eventually, the host signals the end of the meal. A slave brings rose water to wash your hands. Your stomach is both full and confused. You feel the early warning signs of what modern medicine might call regret. You thank the host. He smiles grandly and says something about doing this again soon. You hope that's just politeness. As you leave the house, the air is cooler. The streets are quieter. A few oil lamps flicker on doorsteps. Somewhere a dog barks. Someone is singing off-key. You lean against a wall, exhale, and press a hand to your stomach. It gurgles in protest. Maybe it's the dormouse. Maybe it's the wine. Maybe it's just Rome. You've eaten dinner with the locals, and now your digestive system is plotting revenge. You're walking home in the dark when someone screams. Not a terrifying, blood-curdling scream, more like an irritated shout mixed with mild panic. You freeze anyway, because you're in ancient Rome, and after sundown, anything can happen. The streets change when the sun goes down. Daylight Rome is messy. Nighttime Rome is dangerous. There are no streetlights, no police. No helpful signs pointing the way. Just flickering oil lamps in windows and the occasional torch carried by someone who probably wishes they were already inside. Shadows stretch long and strange. Every alley looks like a trap. You keep walking, faster now. Someone bumps into you, again. And this time you hear the clink of coins. You whirl around, but the man's already gone, swallowed by the dark. You check your pouch out of pure habit. Empty, of course. You've stopped even being surprised. Then you hear it. Footsteps behind you. Not close, but steady, deliberate. You pick up the pace. The footsteps do too. Welcome to the law and order system of ancient Rome. To be clear, there's no police force like you're used to. There are lictors, official bodyguards who protect magistrates. And there are vigils, a kind of night watch / fire brigade. But the vigils are few, underpaid, and mostly interested in preventing fires or watching fights from a safe distance. You are on your own. You duck into a side street and press yourself into a dark corner. The footsteps pass. You wait, then you move. You pass a tavern, loud with shouting and badly sung drinking songs. A man is lying in the doorway, asleep or unconscious, possibly both. You step over him and keep walking. A group of young men loiters at the corner, half drunk and fully armed. One of them notices you and says something in Latin. You smile and keep your head down. You walk faster. They laugh, but don't follow. This time, eventually, you make it back to the insula. Your building, your slightly warped sanctuary. You approach the door, only to find it blocked by a man slumped against the frame. He smells like wine and regret. You nudge him gently. He groans and rolls over. You step around him and climb the stairs. No lights, no railing, just creaking wood and pitch-black air. You move carefully, one hand on the wall, the other gripping the edge of your tunic. Somewhere above you, someone coughs. Somewhere below you, a baby wails. The building groans in response. It feels alive, and not in a comforting way. Back in your room, you sit on the edge of your straw mattress, trying to calm your breathing. You're safe, for now. You think about reporting the pickpocket, or the drunken man, or the teenagers with knives and terrible jokes. But where would you go? The praetor, the magistrate. They have bigger problems, like land disputes, or politics, or bribing each other. Justice in Rome is slow and expensive. Unless you're rich, or dramatic, or both, no one is coming to save you. You lie back, staring up at the sagging ceiling. A mouse skitters across a beam. The building creaks again, possibly from your neighbor's late-night visit to the chamber pot above. You pretend not to hear it. Outside, the city murmurs. Distant arguments, barking dogs. The occasional whistle of someone who either feels very safe or is very drunk. And you've learned something valuable. There are rules in Rome, laws, courts, officials in fancy robes. But after dark, Rome belongs to whoever isn't afraid of the dark. The next morning, you're jolted awake by a noise that sounds suspiciously like a lion. It's not, probably, but it is something loud, growling, and extremely irritated. Maybe a mule, maybe a person, maybe your own stomach seeking revenge for the fermented fish sauce and the mysterious gelatin from last night's dinner. Either way, you're up. You stagger toward the tiny sliver of window light and push aside a dusty cloth to peek outside. The sun is barely up, but the city is already in motion. You hear voices, wheels, barking. Life in Rome doesn't wait for you to be ready. You rub your face, stretch, and immediately regret both. Your joints ache, Your back is stiff, and your toe reminds you of yesterday's misstep. You're 37% straw now. That's just your life. But you've got something to see today. A local told you last night, just before his 5th cup of watered wine, that there's a spectacle happening. A show, real entertainment. You follow the crowd toward the Colosseum. It's massive, unbelievably massive, rising from the earth like something that crashed here from a better funded civilization. Even surrounded by other Roman buildings, temples, arches, towers, it dominates the skyline. You pause and stare, mouth open, until someone elbows past you muttering. Inside, the noise swells, the sound of thousands of Romans, shouting, cheering, arguing, eating. The air is heavy with dust and sweat and roasted meat. Someone's selling grilled sausages on sticks. You make a mental note not to trust it. You get a seat, not a good one. That's for senators and nobles. You're way up top, where the stone bench is more dust than comfort, and your view is partly blocked by someone's inexplicably enormous hat. Still, you can see enough. The arena below is a wide oval of churned sand. Wooden trapdoors are set into the floor. Animals pace in cages at the edge. Muscled men in armor move like they're warming up for something unpleasant. And then the trumpet sounds. First come the light acts. Acrobats, animal trainers, a man who swallows swords and then immediately regrets it. The crowd roars. You're caught up in it despite yourself. It's loud, raw, strangely joyful. There's something primal about the whole thing. Then the real show begins. 2 gladiators enter, one tall and lean with a net and trident, the other broad and armored, wielding a sword and a tiny, laughably useless shield. The announcer shouts their names. The crowd chants. You recognize none of it, but it doesn't matter. The fight is fast, brutal, and strangely choreographed. Not fake, not like wrestling back home, but controlled, practiced. The net flies, the trident jabs, the sword flashes, sand kicks up, blood sprays. The crowd roars again. It's a spectacle, it's theater, it's horrifying. You look around, children cheer, old men place bets. A woman is peeling grapes with absolute serenity. Everyone here sees this as completely normal. One gladiator falls. The other stands over him, breathing hard. The crowd turns toward the presiding official. Today, it's some smug aristocrat in a clean white toga and waits for the signal. Thumbs up, mercy. Thumbs down, death. He gives the signal. The man on the ground does not get up again. You exhale slowly. It's hard to describe what you feel. Shock, disgust, curiosity, you're not sure. What's strange is how easily the crowd moves on. People laugh, joke, argue over who's next. Children wave wooden swords. Vendors toss more snacks into the rows. Another match begins, and another, and another. By mid-afternoon, you've seen 3 deaths, 2 serious injuries, and 1 very confused bear chase, a juggler, across the arena. The crowd is having the time of their lives. You're thinking about home, about movies, books, board games, and TV shows where conflict is fake and nobody dies on purpose. Here, blood is part of the ticket. You leave before the final event, something about 5 condemned criminals and a surprise involving a leopard. You decide not to wait for that one. Back outside, the air feels too quiet, the stone feels too hard, and the crowd disperses like nothing happened. You walk home slowly, because in ancient Rome, entertainment is real, and sometimes it doesn't end when the show's over. You barely make it back to the insula before the sky darkens again. Not just dusk, something heavier. You look up and notice a strange color in the clouds. A grayish-brown smear rolling across the horizon, like someone smudged ash across the sun. The wind changes. It smells wrong. You feel the shift in the city before you understand it. People are moving faster. Some are shouting. Windows are being closed, the lucky ones who have them anyway. A woman runs past holding a bundle of cloth and muttering something about another one. You don't know what she means. Then someone says the word fire. It spreads fast, faster than it should. Somewhere down near the bakery district, a spark has caught in a wooden roof and leapt to the next. The buildings are packed tightly together, leaning over the narrow alleys like nervous dominoes. Fire doesn't need much help here. And your building, your charming, creaky, flammable top-floor home. It's right in the path. You race up the stairs, 2 at a time, suddenly finding reserves of energy you didn't know you had. Inside your room, there's nothing to save. You grab a cloth sack, maybe a piece of bread, and that's it. Everything else is either worthless or too heavy to matter. Back outside, the smoke is thicker. You cough, eyes water. You join the stream of people heading downhill, away from the glow that's already turning orange behind the rooftops. But fire isn't the only problem tonight. As the sun disappears completely, the fear spreads. Not just of flames, but of collapse. Rome's buildings are proud, but not sturdy. Once the lower floor goes, the rest follows. And there are too many people packed into too little space. Someone yells about looters. Someone else starts pushing. You stumble, elbow someone by mistake, get cursed in Latin, and keep moving. A baby wails. A donkey kicks a cart over. A man throws water from a window, but it turns to steam before it lands. You finally reach an open area near a temple, and for a moment, you're safe. You breathe. The smoke is still thick, but here, there's space. People gather, some pray, some argue. A few just stand still and stare at the fire like it's a story they've heard before. Because they have. Rome burns often. It's almost a tradition. Wooden structures, oil lamps, open flames, human error. It's all a recipe for disaster, baked into the city's very walls. The vigils, the Roman fire brigade, are probably already working somewhere, forming bucket lines, knocking down flammable walls with axes, yelling at crowds. But they're few, and the city is enormous. And just when you think it can't get worse, it does. Someone mentions plague. You don't even know how the rumor starts, but suddenly it's in the air, slipping between sentences like a draft. Someone at the baths was sick. The baker's son hasn't moved in 3 days. Flames release foul air, and foul air causes disease. People pull cloths over their faces. They back away from each other. Someone sneezes, and 5 people scatter. You sit down against a column, exhausted. Your tunic is soaked with sweat. Your lungs ache. Your bag of bread is gone. And now, on top of everything, you're worried that Rome itself is trying to shake you off like a flea. Above, the night sky glows, not with stars, but with fire. You wonder how often this happens. How many people go to sleep afraid they won't wake up? How many lives end not with a sword or illness, but a stray ember and a stiff wind? The city is powerful, yes, but it's also fragile. Always one accident away from chaos. Eventually, the flames seem to slow. The air clears just a little. People stop yelling. The night begins to settle again, not calm, but quieter. You pick yourself up and head back toward your insula, dreading what you'll find. You turn the corner. It's still there. Somehow, impossibly, it survived. Blackened at the edges, windows cracked, but standing. Others nearby weren't so lucky. Smoke curls out of broken roofs. A half-collapsed wall reveals a home that no longer has rooms. Your place smells like charcoal and fear. You climb the stairs carefully, avoiding a scorched board. You lie down on the straw mattress, still warm, and close your eyes. Tonight, it wasn't the food, or the fashion, or the gladiators that nearly did you in. It was the city itself. Rome breathes fire sometimes, and it doesn't care what burns. You sleep badly, not because of noise, although there's plenty, or because of discomfort, which is guaranteed, but because something inside you won't quite shut off. A low, flickering sense that danger is always just outside the door, or under the floor, or in the air. You wake with a dry mouth, a stiff neck, and the unmistakable sensation of having dreamed about being chased by a cartload of geese. You're not even sure if that was a dream. In Rome, it could have happened. Today, you decide to do something bold, something old school, something Roman. You decide to pray, not out of devotion, exactly, but because you've run out of better ideas. A woman at the bathhouse yesterday mentioned that her cousin's neighbor's landlord made an offering to Mercury and didn't stub his toe for an entire month. You figure it's worth a try. You find a nearby shrine. Not a temple, those are massive, public, and filled with people who know the rituals. You're aiming smaller. A neighborhood shrine tucked between two buildings, its tiny roof slanting, its offerings wilted. Inside, there's a statue of Mercury, god of travelers, messages, and suspiciously good luck. He's carved in stone, wearing a winged helmet and a smirk like he knows something you don't. You drop your last coin into the bowl. You're not sure if that's the right thing to do, but no one stops you. You whisper something, a request, a plea, a joke. You're not sure what counts as prayer here. Then you stand there awkwardly for a few seconds, nod to the statue, and step away. Behind you, nothing happens. No lightning, no sign, no improvement in posture or skin tone. You're still you. Still a sore, confused time traveler, in a tunic that smells like adventure and public seating. You move on. Rome is crawling with gods. There are dozens, maybe hundreds, depending on who you ask. Jupiter, king of the sky. Mars, god of war. Venus, goddess of love. Janus, the two-faced god of doors and transitions. Every part of Roman life has a deity assigned to it, including mildew. There is, quite seriously, a god for mildew. It's hard to know which one to pray to. Do you go big and ask Jupiter for protection? Or keep it practical and whisper to the goddess of staircases so your floorboard doesn't give out? The choices are overwhelming, and everyone has a different opinion. You pass a man burning herbs in front of a doorway. He waves the smoke toward the lintel, muttering a charm. A woman nearby ties red wool around her baby's wrist to ward off the evil eye. A child tosses a coin into a fountain and asks the water for a new pet goat. Religion here isn't separate from life. It's baked into it. Temples, shrines, altars, they're everywhere. On street corners, in markets, above doorways, even inside kitchens, where Lares and Penates, little household spirits, are honored with bits of bread and sips of wine. You begin to wonder if belief is less about faith and more about habit. A kind of spiritual insurance policy. You're not sure Mercury heard you this morning, but you also don't want to anger him by saying so. So you hedge your bets. Later that afternoon, a procession passes through the forum. Priests in white robes, carrying statues on platforms, chanting as they walk. Incense fills the air. People bow their heads. Others throw flower petals. Someone near you drops to their knees. You do too, out of social pressure more than piety. A goat follows behind the priests, wide-eyed and unaware. You don't ask questions. It's strange, all of it. Majestic and ordinary at once. Divine and deeply human. These people live surrounded by symbols, gods carved into walls, painted on ceilings, mentioned in every conversation. The gods are everywhere, but the suffering is too. You think about the man sleeping in the doorway 2 nights ago, the woman who lost her home to the fire, the sick child you saw coughing in the corner of the bathhouse. You wonder how many prayers go unanswered. Still, people keep whispering, lighting candles, tossing coins, because even in a brutal, chaotic world like this, maybe it helps to believe someone's listening, even if that someone is a statue with wings on his hat. As you walk back through the city, your coin pouch lighter and your feet sore again, you can't say for sure whether the gods are watching you, but you're definitely watching them, and in ancient Rome, that's half the point. You make it back to your insula just before nightfall. Tired in the way only ancient Rome can make you tired, like your soul has walked 10 miles barefoot and stepped in something questionable every 3rd step. You climb the stairs slower than usual. Each creak underfoot sounds like a warning, but you've learned not to flinch. You pass someone sleeping in the corridor, curled up under a blanket that looks more like a curtain. No one seems concerned. You don't ask questions. You've learned that too. Inside your tiny room, the air is stale and still. There's no breeze, no candle left. You sit in the dark, on the edge of your lumpy mattress, and try to process the last 24 hours. This city is relentless. It doesn't stop. It doesn't care. It just continues. Roaring, stomping, praying, cursing, collapsing, rebuilding, and starting all over again. And you've made it. Somehow, impossibly, you've survived your first full day in ancient Rome. You've been yelled at, pickpocketed, nearly trampled, overheated, mildly poisoned, vaguely robbed, lightly injured, probably cursed, and moderately traumatized. And yet, here you are, still breathing, barely. You lie down, staring at the wooden ceiling. It's slightly warped and smells like smoke. Your mattress is lumpy. Your pillow is more a suggestion than a reality. And there's a suspicious crunching sound when you move your leg. You don't investigate. You've stopped investigating things. You take a slow breath, then another. Outside Rome is humming, a quiet, distant buzz. Someone playing a flute, the rhythmic tapping of sandals, a baby crying, a dog barking once, then again. The city doesn't sleep. It just dims a little. Your body aches, but your mind is still spinning. You think about everything you've seen, the forum, the baths, the food, the clothes, the gods, the fire, the blood. You think about all the little things we take for granted that don't exist here. Pillows, plumbing, peace and quiet, shoes that fit. And then, without realizing it, you smile. Because for all its chaos, for all its dangers, there's something captivating about Rome. Something wild, something real. It's not clean, it's not fair, but it's alive. You roll onto your side and close your eyes. You survived a day in ancient Rome. Most people wouldn't. Now, all you have to do is make it through the night. And now, let the fires burn low. Let the marble fade to shadow and the city grow quiet behind you. The cries of the market fade, the clatter of hooves softens, and even the fountains slow their trickling to a hush. Rome, for a moment, rests. You lie back in your quiet little room, the stone walls around you warm from the day's sun. The straw mattress shifts beneath your weight. The ceiling above you slants at an odd angle, and still, it feels safe. Or at least, safer than before. Outside, a soft breeze finally stirs the air, slipping through cracks in the walls like a whispered lullaby. You hear someone snore, gently, through the thin partition next door. Far away, a flute plays a tune that has no beginning and no end. The sounds of the city stretch and blur, folding into the distance. The day is over. You've walked the streets, tasted the food, survived the games, escaped the fire, and whispered to the gods. And now, nothing more is asked of you. No more sandals, no more stairs, no more crowds, or coins, or uncertain glances. Just stillness, and breath, and the slow, steady sinking into sleep. The air is warm, your body is tired, the world around you dims, and another ancient day comes to an end. Sleep well. Good night.